So what's going on, millionaires? You're listening to the $1 Million Mind Podcast, episode 154 on bigger wins require big losses. So I'm super excited about today's guest of the hour. We have Mr. Khleif, a master multifamily real estate investor, founder of Lifetime Cash Flow Academy, which we're going to learn a lot about, and also the host of the Multi-Family Boardroom Mastermind, which is the largest of its type, which you guys are going to hear a lot about. And Rod, I'm super excited to ask more questions about how that got started. But let's dive in as far as your story and how you got started in real estate and just how you became the Khleif that is sitting with us today.
Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate you having me on, and this will be a lot of fun, and let's try to add as much value as we can. So my story is, I'm going to go way back. So I immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old, and with my brother Albert, my mother's Vansha. I was born in the Netherlands, Holland, wooden shoes, windmills, and we ended up in Denver, Colorado, and we didn't have much. I'm going to tell you, I remember eating expired food. There was an expired food store that we would go and buy food at. We drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning, which I promise you sounds better than it is. I wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I lied about my age at Burger King when I was 14 and got a job flipping burgers so I could buy my own clothes and ultimately buy a car. Now, I know you may have listeners that have had it harder than I did, or maybe even have it harder now, but I knew I wanted more. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And she was a bit of an entrepreneur. With her babysitting money, she invested in the stock market. She also invested in real estate. And she's the reason I got into real estate. So she bought the house across the street from us when I was 14 for about 30 grand. When I was 17, she told me she made $20,000 in her sleep. And I'm like, what? You made 20 grand and you didn't do anything? I'm getting into real estate, Mom. Screw college. I'm getting into real estate. So I bagged the whole college thing and got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18. I was a broker. I wasn't just an agent, which you could do back then with education. Now they got smart. You need some experience before you're a broker and can have your own office. But I was a broker and I was going to be rich in real estate. Well, my first year in real estate, I made about maybe 8 to 10 grand. My second year, maybe 10 to 12 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000. And this is 1980, which was decent change back then for a kid. And so what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy, I was actually dating his daughter, that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology, how truly 80 to 90% of your success in anything is just that. It's your mindset and psychology. If, only 10 to 20% is the technical knowledge, the vehicle, be it Airbnb, like you mentioned earlier, or real estate of any kind, or entrepreneurship, or building a business or franchise, whatever. That's the smallest part of it. You actually have to do something. If it was just the technical knowledge, there'd be a bunch of wealthy librarians and college professors out there. It's the do and it's the keep doing, right? And so, fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses. I've owned thousands of apartment units. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you're like, oh, wow. And I was like, oh, wow. And, I thought I was a freaking real estate god. I thought I could do no wrong. And, when that happens, God or the universe will give you a nice little smackdown. Well, that was 2008. I lost that and a lot more. I lost $50 million in 2008. And so one of the things that I love talking about and I'm known for, and like on my podcast, I was just mentioning to you, we just broke 12 million downloads, which I'm really proud of. It's called Lifetime Cash Flow through real estate investing. And one of the things I'm proud of is the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place, but then the mindset it took to recover from that and get back to the success that I'm blessed to have today. And so, happy to drill down on that with you if you like, Kai, wherever you want to take this, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks so much for that story, Rod. And it's so many angles that I could, go from, with that, just from my experience and just knowing our millionaires that'll be tuning in. But for the millionaires that are tuning in for the first time and just now joining us, what can they expect to get out of, the next 45 minutes or so with, just you joining us?
I'll teach you success. Let's talk about success strategies. Let's talk about what I did to have 50 million and what I did to get back to where I'm at today. And let's talk about those strategies, because I think that'll add a ton of value. Even if you're brand new and haven't even decided how you're going to become that millionaire, these strategies will work for any vehicle. When I say vehicle, I mean, whatever, however you're going to do it, doesn't matter. The how doesn't matter. It's the why really is the biggest piece. So if you'd like, I'll get into it.
All right, what's up, millionaire? So I know I shared this once, maybe even twice, but here's the third time. So I'm really starting to lose faith in business cards. And the reason why is because every time I get about 500 business cards, I use about 100, 150, and my business has changed. Whether the website has changed or just things are just changing, especially when you're a new entrepreneur. I've been in entrepreneurship just under 5 years. So, things are still changing. You're optimizing, you're getting new websites, getting new Instagram accounts, and your business card really expires. So what I learned and what I love now is Popple, right? I have a Popple card right here in my pocket. And what I love about it is it's a physical card that I can put my logo on. Even has a QR code that I can scan or hold up to somebody's phone. And they have a virtual business card where I can update my information as much as I need to. I can share as much information as I want to from my phone number, social media pages, the whole nine. And I can also disable sharing that information if I want to as well. I definitely want you guys to consider Popple, because as your business is changing, why spend so much money on these paper business cards when most of the times people throw them away and it's expired because you changed your business? So there's also going to be a link at the bottom of this video for you to download Popple, get your business card, or if I hold it up close enough, you might be able to scan that QR code. Absolutely. It is definitely the why. And
Right.
You heard it here, folks. For our millionaires that are just tuning in, welcome to the $1 Million Mind podcast. As we mentioned earlier, this is the #1 passion and attraction podcast in the world, thanks to each and every one of you. And you are getting ready to hear from Khleif, who is going to give us some more tips and tricks on identifying your passions and attracting opportunities to make a living, while living your dreams. So to start off, I heard that you got started in real estate through the inspiration of your mom, and that story of her making 20K in her sleep, off of real estate. And you brought up the word more, and more is pretty much why people, tune into the show, because a lot of our listeners can, really relate to that, wanting more, but not really knowing where to find more. With this word more, right? How do you identify what more looks like for you to where you even know where to jump? Because of course, not everybody has the story, where they're interested in real estate, or they may not have any inspirations right now. They just feel empty, they feel unfulfilled, and they just know they want more, but just don't know where to start. What's some mindset hacks to just start to be more receptive to opportunities, to at least find that more in that vehicle that you can use?
Yeah. Well, you have to create what Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Think and Grow Rich, a burning desire. And so to have that burning desire, you got to know what the heck it is that you want. You got to know why you want it. So, one of the first things we do at my boot camps, and by the way, I've got one coming up in Denver. If you live in Denver or you want to come to Denver at the end of July, but the first thing we do is a goal setting workshop on steroids, because how the hell do you get anything if you don't know what it is? Okay. Now, if you don't know how, the how isn't important. Again, it's knowing what it is that you want and why you want it. And I'm happy to drill down on that process with you if you like, Kai, because I can probably describe it in about 10 minutes, but that's the critical piece. You've got to create that burning desire so that you push through fear, you push through limiting beliefs, you go out there and you hunt for what it is that, like you said, you're going to be passionate about. You got to find your passion, because if you find what it is that you enjoy doing, you'll be passionate about it. And if you're passionate about it, you'll be able to influence people to invest with you, partner with you, work with you. And that's a critical piece. And so, but it starts with figuring out what it is you want. And then once you know that, and you created that desire and you really want it, maybe it's freedom, maybe it's material stuff, whatever it is, you figure that out. And then you've got to decide on the vehicle. And so, there's so many ways to make money in this world, and it could be through online sales on Amazon. It could be, entrepreneurship. It could be buying a franchise. Could be real estate. There's so many different parts of real estate. My sector is multifamily. I think it's the best, but of course I've got a slanted view, but I could prove it. But the bottom line is I do believe it's the best. And so I teach people how to buy apartment buildings, but the vehicle is irrelevant until you have that that like you call it, that millionaire mind, and know what it is you want and why you want it. So again, that's the first thing we do. Would you like me to describe that? I do it in about an hour and 15, hour and a half at my boot camp, but I could describe the process. I think it might add some value if you'd like me to.
Absolutely. I would love to hear your process for finding those things.
All right. So here's what you do, guys. And by the way, I did this on my Rod Khleif official Facebook page on January 1st with music and a guide, a goal setting guide that you can download for free. And I don't try to sell you anything. If you ping me on any social channel, I can send you the link to that and guide you through this. But if you don't want to, do that, then let me just describe it to you. So what you want to do is you want to pick an hour when you have a lot of energy and you're not going to be distracted. And you just sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life, all the stuff, the houses, the cars, the boats, the jet skis, the planes, all the stuff. And there's nothing wrong with stuff. And so, but here's what's important. The bottom line is people spend more time planning a freaking birthday party than they do designing their lives. This is designing your life. Okay. So you write down all the stuff you want and take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it. If you want a jet, write that down, a private island, a yacht, whatever it is, because there's nothing you can't do, be, or have if you go after it. There really isn't, nothing. So write that down. Write down how much money you want from your investment, say in 3 years, how much money you want in, say, cash flow in 10 years. Write down how much money you want in the bank in 3 years, and in case the stuff hit the fan fund, and how much you want in 10 years. So just all of that. Also write down all the things you want to do in this lifetime. Like behind me, behind my green screen here, I've got vision boards on the floor. You can kind of see next to my chair there with things that I want now. Okay. But you want, like I've got a travel vision board there as well for the places I want to go, or places I've gone, I want to go again. So write down all those things. Write down, I've got a friend that's climbing every mountain over 14,000 feet. That's an example of that. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane a few years ago. I'll never do it again, but it's off the list. So bucket list items too. Okay. Write those down. Also write down what you want to learn in this lifetime, whatever skill you want to learn. Write that down. If you want to learn multifamily, for God's sakes, come see me. Like I say, I do these boot camps. They're really cheap. I'm really inexpensive. Like if you come to Denver, it's $197, and I don't sell anything there. 3 days of training for $197. It's truly a no-brainer if you're interested. If you're interested in checking it out, text ROD to 72345, and you'll get the link to that boot camp if you're interested. But the bottom line is you write down everything you want to learn as well. And then lastly, write down who you want to help. We will do more for others than we'll do for ourselves. And again, this is the fuel to get you to kick, go make it happen, to build that burning desire. So, if you, like I bought my parents a house here in Florida when my dad was alive, bought them a car, took them on cruises. Who do you want to do things for? Write that down. Okay. Now, if you're analytical, don't stop and analyze it. Just keep writing. You can scratch it out later, but keep your energy high. Write down everything you can think of. All right. Once you can't think of another thing, there's a couple more steps. You need to write down, you need to put a time limit on each goal, and and we'll call it years. So you put a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20. Okay. How many years you think it'll take to achieve it? Recognizing that we will overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, or 20 years. And I'll give you an example of this. I'm going to give you some examples here. Please know I'm not bragging, because I just want to inspire you. Okay. But when I lived in Denver, I immigrated, ended up in Denver. Like I said, I was 18. I knew I wanted to live on the beach. I always wanted to live on the beach. And I would visualize the palm trees and the surf and the sand and the waves. 20 years later, I built this $8 million, 10,000 square foot mansion on the beach on one side, and it was a Gulf to Bay. I had my boat lifts on the backside. It was like this slice through this island, which was unthinkable when I was 18. But the point of it is, so don't limit yourself. Whatever you want, your grandiose dreams, you write that down, but put a time limit on each goal. Then I want you to pick your number one goal. I mean, that goal, when you get it, you're like, oh my God, you've arrived when you achieve that goal. So put that on a separate sheet of paper, that number one goal. Then I want you to pick your top 3 one-year goals. Put those on a separate sheet of paper. So you've got 4 goals, leave some room in between them. At this point, you're ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that do a New Year's resolution that's forgotten by February 15th. But there's a couple more quick steps. You need to write down under each one of those goals why it's an absolute freaking must for you to achieve. And use emotionally charged words like amazing and incredible and beautiful. So you might put, so I can show my kids what incredible success looks like. So I can show my wife or husband what it means to live a life of amazing abundance, so we can have unbelievable freedom to do whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we want, bring whoever we want, whatever is going to juice you, write that down. Okay. And then once you've got some positive reasons why each one of those goals is an absolute must, I want you to put some pain in there if you don't achieve it, and make it freaking hurt. So I don't feel like a failure. So I don't fail my kids. So I don't fail my wife, so I don't live a life of regret. Kai, there was this nurse in Australia, a hospice nurse. Her name was Bronnie Ware. And so she took care of patients when they were about to die. And she asked them a question. You know what the question was? It was, do you have any regrets? At the end of their life, she asked them, do you have any regrets? She wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. You know what the number one regret was? It was not living my own life, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. I can't think of anything worse than that. So put some pain in there, make it hurt. So you've got your positive, negative reasons why. Last thing is you got to go get pictures. Go get pictures of your goals and or make declarations. I'll give you some examples. Jim Carrey, the actor, the comedian, when he was flat broke, wrote himself a check for $10 million. And he used to go up by the Hollywood sign and he would visualize cashing it. That's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. For those of you millennials, the check is something we used to use to pay for things. Cello and Venmo or whatever. But anyway, so I'll give you another more recent example. Demi Lovato, the singer, when she was unknown like 12 years ago, posted on social media, one day I'm going to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. Go check a couple Super Bowls ago who sang the national anthem. I'll give you some personal examples from me. When I was 18, I figured I had to get a 4-door car to show people houses, right? So I got this bone ugly Ford Granada, just a piece of crap, bench seat in the front, but I figured I had to have that. Well, the guy I told you about, whose daughter I dated, had a couple of Corvettes and he let me drive one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking amazing. So I got a picture out of a magazine. This is before the internet had been thought of. Got a picture out of a magazine of a Corvette and I put on the visor this bone ugly Granada. So every time I sat in it, it was right there in front of me. Within a year or two, I had a Corvette. I'll give you a couple more examples. Again, I'm not bragging. This stuff doesn't even interest me anymore. But this was back when the TV show Magnum PI was out. It was before you were born, Kai. It was about this detective in Hawaii that Tom Selleck was the actor. And he drove this Ferrari 308. First time I ever saw an exotic car. I'm like, oh my God, that's incredible. I got a picture of that car, put on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, I had a Maserati, looked just like it. Last example. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini, so I had posters, like Mike Tyson and his, I think it was Robin Givens. They had the matching Lamborghinis. I had the poster of that. And what's funny is my son collected models of exotic cars and he had like 30, the McLarens and the Ferraris and the Porsches. And he had a Lamborghini, exact same color and style that I ended up getting, which I wrecked. But in fact, let me show you something. This is my planner. I'm a dinosaur. I use a paper planner. In the back of this thing, I've got pictures that have been in here for 22 years. They're in plastic. You see how beat up they are. Mm-hmm. Well, first pictures are pictures of my kids when they're very young. They're my gratitude pictures. To manifest everything in life, you use gratitude. This is how I did it, okay? Through gratitude. So these are pictures of my kids. My kids are 30 and 26 now. Then I've got pictures of things that I wanted. That house on the beach, this looks just like it before I built it. I had 10-foot high glass like that. I had travertine floors just like that. Now what's crazy is I lost that house and all the craziness, when things crashed. But and now I live in a compound. I have I have 6 buildings here. I've got a big main house. I've got a beautiful guest house on the water. I've got a media building where I do my online courses now. I've got store, I have beautiful exercise facility, on and on and on. And look at these bottom pictures. I don't know if Kai, if you can see those white walls in those pictures. See those white walls? That's my backyard. Yep. See the white wall? Is that freaking crazy? This is like 22 years ago. I put these in here. Then I've got, pictures of, let's see, stupid shit like watches. I got a few $100,000 worth of watches, again, stupid stuff, but there's a Lamborghini before I ever got it. Okay. Rolls Royce, Bentley, all this stuff that I got because I had pictures. So get freaking pictures. They work. Okay. Put them around you. All right, that's it. I'll drop the mic now. That was a little longer. Okay.
That's an amazing way to drop a mic, Rod, I gotta say. Okay. And
thanks.
You mentioned Think and Grow Rich, and it's kind of the one thing that stuck out to me about that book, and to all our millionaires, if you haven't read it, I definitely highly encourage you pick up that book and read it twice a year, if not once. But conceive it, believe it, achieve it. And it's like you taking out those pictures and it's like brainwashing yourself, because we're going through brainwashing every single day. Right. Through employment, through the people that we hang out with. So it's like conceiving it, believing it until you eventually achieve it. And so you mentioned another thing, Rod, was which was the time limit. And that's more so, you know, you aim small, you miss small, because
It's
if you
got to be
don't have
measurable. It's got to be measurable. Yeah.
and that was my next question. What are some tips as far as how you can realistically or you know, like wisely, you know, measure that time limit, so you're just not throwing times and say, well, I want $3 million by February 2023, right?
Sure.
How do you measure that?
Sure. I'll get people that say, I want $1 billion in 5 years. I'm like, okay, let's tone it back here. Let's get a little real. So really the thing you want to do is your brain has to believe it. Okay. So if it's too crazy, your brain's not going to believe it. But the bottom line is, once you determine what it is you want, and it needs to be a stretch for sure, then you back into it. Okay, so for me to own 1,000 units in 3 years, how many do I have to buy a year? How many do I have to buy a month? How many do I have to buy a week? You know, how many do I need to look at to buy that many a week or a month? How many calls do I need to make? And you just back into it, and that's how you do it with any of your goals. You know, and then you've got to decide again what the vehicle is going to be. You've got to plan. You fail to plan to fail. Bottom line is you absolutely have to plan it. And even in my business in apartment buildings, if you're going to buy an apartment building, you've got to have a business plan for that. I mean, for that apartment building, you've got to have a plan for it. So you've got a plan. But the bottom line is once you've determined what it is you want, you've got to make a decision. And the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. It means if you're going to attack the island, you're burning your ships because you're taking their damn ships home, right? That's a decision. It's done. Okay. It's not a 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of thing. It's freaking done. And when you've made that decision, you're totally committed. You're like a train on a track. Now, if you don't make that decision, you can be knocked off track. So, you know, you've got to make that decision. And you also have to have positive expectation. Okay. You have to expect to win, because whatever you expect, whatever you anticipate is what you're going to get, positive or negative. And so, you know, I know if you're listening to Kai, you're a leader, and right now the world needs leaders. Okay. But that means you've got to manage your focus in a big way. And don't get me started on the freaking fake news and the crap that's out there on the news right now. You've got to really stand guard at the door to your mind. Bring in the good stuff. On my podcast, I do these clips every week called Own Your Power, about just that, owning your power. And I've got hundreds of them on there. So even if you're not interested in real estate, I think you really enjoy those episodes. It's my podcast called Lifetime Cash Flow. But even if not me, go on YouTube and bring in the good stuff. And I love to watch soldiers coming home and stuff, you know, the stuff that juices you, makes you feel good. Bring that stuff in, motivational clips, bring that stuff in. Okay. But again, focus is super important. The wealthiest people on the planet are the ones that have the most focus. And, you know, I started to, you know, and I will tell you, you know, cell phones really screw up your focus, because you're sitting there watching a movie and you're scrolling through social media and you're making micro decisions every split second, which really hurts your focus. You know, one of the podcasts I listen to is Tim Ferriss. You know, I get excited about my 12 million downloads, and he does that a week, you know, but what he does is he interviews some of the best people in the world at what they do. Athletes, you know, he's had Jamie Foxx and I'm sorry, actors, Jamie Foxx, he's had athletes, you know, world class, best in the world, you know, politicians, not that there's too many good ones of those, but, you know, business people, billionaires, but some of the best in the world at what they do. And I started to hear a pattern, because he deconstructs how they achieve their success. I started to hear a pattern, and they all meditate. And what does meditation enhance? Focus, right? So focus is super important. Anyway, I kind of went off on a side road there. Sorry.
No, I love it. Focus is definitely super important. And another thing that you mentioned, which was perfect timing, was it sounds like, Rod, once you find or identify the reward goal, like getting the house, getting the money, getting the car, is you have to work backwards by setting action goals. And I think that's what a lot of us
intermittent goals throughout the path. You know, you set out this journey, and you make decisions. What are you going to do this year? You break it down to this year, this month. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted, but yeah.
No, that's fine. It's intermittent goals. And what would you say is the best setting to set these goals? Because for me, per se, I find it distracting trying to set goals in the house or in the office. I have to go somewhere that I don't spend a lot of time already. That's really just to avoid pragmatic thinking. What helped for you for setting some of those goals?
Yeah, sorry, sneeze. I try to go somewhere beautiful. I've done it, on the beach. I've done it. I'll go to a hotel. I'll sit on the balcony and I'll do it there. But again, if anybody's listening and you want me to guide you through this process with, again, it's very well done, professionally done with music, and you get this goal setting guide. I've got a copy of it right here. You get this, you download it, and it guides you through this process that I just described. So you don't have to think about it. I mean, I'll direct you to what to do. And again, if you ping me on any social channel, my last name's a little hard to spell, but if you go to realestatewithrod.com, you'll see, that's rodkhleif.com. You'll find me there. And I've got all sorts of free, if you're interested in real estate at all, I've got tons of free videos and books and articles and everything else there. But then you DM me on any social channel, I'll get you that link to do that. But, I would go somewhere, you're not going to be interrupted. I would do it with your spouse, your significant other, because, and do it separately. Don't do it together. Do your own. She or he does their own. You do your goals, and then you see how aligned you are. Make sure you're headed the same direction, right? Make sure you want the same things. Very powerful to do that. Important to do that. Once your kids are, teenagers, very important again to do that. Do it with, have them do it. If you can bring them to my event, I promise you I will juice them, because it's very powerful when you get aligned on what you want. It's very motivational, very inspirational. So anyway, rambled, but yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I would definitely also encourage, what you just said of taking that time to revisit those goals with your spouse, with your partner. Mm-hmm. Let's switch gears a little bit, Rod, because I do want to dive into probably one of the most polarizing facts that you shared with us earlier, and one that our listeners probably puckered up and really focused into what you had to say when you mentioned, losing over $50 million back in 2008. What was that period like, and how did you, what do you think was the biggest thing that kind of helped you push forward and to either make some major changes in habits or behaviors?
Well, yeah, it sucked. Okay. It was no fun because I thought I was set for life, obviously, and it took a couple of months to lick my wounds and feel sorry for myself. But what's important to remember when something negative happens to you is that it does not become your story or your identity. Okay. Very important. Okay. Very important that you do not allow it. And that goes for any business that you decide to get into. If you're listening and you want to go do something, don't let it be you. It's not you. It's your vehicle. Okay. And if the vehicle fails, doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means that didn't work. But if it's you, then you're the one failing. So it's very important to separate yourself from the vehicle in your mind. Okay. Very, very important. But, for me, it was a lot of things that helped me turn this around. I was around an incredible peer group. Okay. I was in a mastermind of people that were killing it through the crash. And they're like, okay, quit whining, you big pussy, get up and go make, 50 million, whatever. Just get up and go make some money. Go make it happen. So I was around people that were pushing me. Like I've got I've got a coaching program. They're called my Warriors. And I'm real proud of some. I'm gonna brag for a minute. So I've been teaching about 4 years. My Warriors, my students now own over 55,000 units. It's my greatest accomplishment next to my kids. Super proud of that. But the reason that I bring that up is because they're doing these deals together. They're pushing each other. They're motivating each other. They're inspiring each other. They're not scared of success. You want to be careful who you're around. There will be people around you that are afraid of your dreams. They'll be afraid of them, or they'll be jealous of them, and they'll poo-poo your dreams. So you got to be really careful who you share your dreams with. And sometimes it's family. And I would tell you, love your family, choose your peers. Be very careful who you allow to influence you. So peer group's critical, because I'm going to tell you, you show me your 3 best friends, I'll show you who you are. Not just financially, personally, health, happiness, everything. You are who you hang out with. So be very selective who you allow to influence you. So peers was a big piece. Again, realigning with what I wanted. It would have been very easy for me to bemoan my existence because I lost everything. Of course, I did for a while. Now I just use it to teach. But the point is, I had to redirect my focus, like we just talked about, towards the things that I wanted. It's a natural tendency to focus on what we don't want. I'll give you an example. They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. Get the distinction? So it's just a play. I mean, it's the same thing, but it's your focus, right? So that was a big thing. Redirecting my focus, getting aligned with what I wanted again, reassociating with what I wanted instead of what I didn't want, because we have a tendency to focus on what we don't want and the negative. Like, you're pretty evolved, so probably not you. But if someone came up to me and said, "Rod, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh my God, man, I'm freaking fantastic. Life is amazing. Life is beautiful." They take a step back and say, "Okay, Rod's off his freaking meds." Okay. But if they came up to me and said, "Rod, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh shit, man, my back is killing me. And oh, I just lost 20 grand in the stock market and blah, blah, blah." They'll put their arm around you and say, "Oh, I feel you, brother." We connect through pain. So be careful of that. Okay. You want to, again, be around people that are juiced and motivated and excited. The vehicle is so irrelevant. What's relevant is you getting excited about these goals, getting around people that aren't going to, diminish your dreams, that push you and motivate you and validate you. And then you just got to take massive freaking action. You got to take that first step. Okay. Like Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. You got to take that first step. And the journey, Lao Tzu, thousands of miles ago, said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So you got to take that first step. And in real estate, I see it with the first deal. It's the law of the first deal. It's the hardest, it's the scariest, it's the most stressful, it takes the longest. And then once it's done, they're like, "Is that all there is?" I see it with my students. It takes them 8 months to get that first deal. Next thing I know, they have 6. It's like, what the hell just happened? They got past that fear, So that first step is important. Focus is important. Peer group is important. Last thing I'll mention, and so I'm not like monopolizing this, but is you got to play to your strengths. Okay. Don't try to build your weaknesses. In multifamily real estate, especially because it's a team sport. And if you play to your strengths and hire a line or partner for your weaknesses, I see it in the multifamily business a lot. Like, you'll get somebody like me that's a great communicator, and my partner is very analytical. He's also a good communicator, but he's the analytical one. So that's a fantastic partnership. And I'm not trained to be something I'm not. I can read a spreadsheet, but I don't love it. You can throw him in a room with a spreadsheet and throw raw meat in once in a while, and he's happy. Okay. So, you want to be playing to your strengths. Anyway, I'll stop now.
That's a huge thing, because I feel like a lot of nowadays with social media and the instant gratification that it provides, we see, and it's like monkey see, monkey do, and we try to be this superhero that has all the superpowers, as opposed to going back to the power of your peer group and kind of building a mastermind of people that have strengths that you do not, and have weaknesses that you can add value to, so forth and so on. So I want to use that as a segue, Rod, as far as the birth of the multifamily mastermind.
Boardroom. Yeah, it's called the Multi-Family Boardroom. Yeah, so I'm a huge proponent of masterminds. I've been in multiple masterminds, and so I've seen the success of them. And because I saw the success of them so often, I would, I thought, what, why don't I do my own? And so what I did was I invited 16 people here to my compound here in Florida. There's about $1 billion in assets represented by the members. And in fact, if you allow me to share my screen, I'll show a picture real quick, because it ties into what we're talking about here. Do I have the ability? Nope, you disabled it.
You sure do now.
Tell me, I do now? Okay, good. So see this, I don't know if you guys can see this picture. This is a picture, if you're just listening to this, of me standing with my arms out, and I've got probably 100, 150 lanyards from boot camps and masterminds and events that I've been to hanging around my arms. Now, of course, I'm a little bragging because I'm in front of my Bentley and one of my Mercedes. But the point is, in this is, I believe in masterminds. Here's proof positive of some of the ones that I've been in, events I've been to, so on and so forth. So anyway, I had 16 people come to my compound, my house. I just decided I'd try this, and I didn't charge them anything. It's about $1 billion in assets represented by the members. And it was so amazing. See, Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, talks about the mastermind. He talks about when any two like minds get together with what he calls a definiteness of purpose, where they're headed the same direction, they create this third intangible mind that's greater than the sum of the parts. And when you get, like in my mastermind, I've got 50, 60 people sometimes at our events, and we're all interested in multifamily real estate, the knowledge transfer is just incredible. It's things I can't think of to teach from stage. There's so many little nuances that it's just too much for me to try to teach in 3 days at a boot camp, but it's just incredible. And I got so blown away by, the results of this 16 guys at my event, I decided to formalize it. It's called the Multi-Family Boardroom. It's the largest mastermind of its kind in the world, really. We've got probably in excess of 14 billion in assets represented by it. But again, it's for higher level players. I mean, you need to have 500 to 1,000 doors to be considered to join it. But it's something to aspire to. And can you create your own? Hell yes, you can create your own. You get, and it's why real estate investor club meetings are so powerful. If you get around people that want more, that are interested in what you're interested in, you can just decide to create your own. Like I said, you can have 3 or 4 people get together over lunch once a week and talk shop, and you'll see the power of this. And so, yeah, I love masterminds, and that's why I have my own and why I've joined them all the time. I've been through many different ones for different topics. I was in the digital marketers war room, which is the best digital marketers in the world. I went to a story mastermind and Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership Mastermind. I've been in scores of them. So.
I too am a huge fan of masterminds, Rod, and I even started a mastermind specifically to the millionaires that religiously tune into the podcast, for them to kind of join us on Facebook, and we share ideas and bounce things off of each other that way. Nice. But I want to relate what you said about the masterminds to a movie, because most people watch way too many movies, if you ask me, but we watch a lot of movies. We enjoy them. And it was a movie that recently came out. I think it was called The Eternals. Have you seen The Eternals? It's a Marvel movie.
I have not.
And they're superheroes. They're actually the original superheroes, I guess you could call them. And they put all of their powers together to create a mega mind to defeat these the bad guy, whoever it is, the antagonist. The antagonist. So they literally use this concept of a mastermind. And I
love it.
If you're just watching the movie, you're just gonna be like, oh wow, that's cool. They combine their powers, but what you're just saying is like the same thing. We need to combine our brain powers. We need to combine our skills and our weaknesses with other people that share different skills and weaknesses, so that we can create this third mind, or this bigger mind.
Great analogy. Yeah, I love it.
So I want to take that, Rod, and kind of play off of, there are 3 reasons why I feel like most people, or at least have communicated to me, why they don't get into real estate. Most people think that to get into real estate, it's too salesy, one, or you need too much money to get started, or you need too much experience, which probably costs you more money to get the experience, like becoming a realtor, things like that.
Can I speak to those?
Absolutely. That's why I'm bringing them up.
So salesy. Listen, salesy, schmalesy. Listen, in life, you have to be able to influence. You influence your kids. You influence your spouse. You might go and influence a seller or a broker or an investor to invest with you, but that's influence. That's life. Okay. Anybody that poo-poos that is just speaking out of fear. Okay. And I get this sometimes. I get hate like this on my TikTok videos and my posts, my Instagram videos. Oh, you're just a salesman, or you're a salesman. Like, yeah, life is sales. Okay. So let's be real. Okay. So that's number 1 about the salesy comment. Number 2, yes, real estate takes money to buy, but it doesn't have to be your own money. I bought 2,000 units in the last couple of years. I don't have a dime in them. Okay. Now you'll say, okay, well, that's because it's you. No, I've got tons of students that have raised money to buy real estate. You could, but it requires you to be competent. Okay. You've got to know the business. And so, and you say, okay, it takes a lot of money to learn. Well, I charge $197 for my 3-day boot camp, and I don't sell anything there. So what's your excuse now? Okay. Like I've got a virtual event this weekend that obviously this won't air before then, but I charge $100 to spend 16 to 18 hours with me, nothing being sold. And you're like, okay, well, how do you do that? How do you make any money? Well, people get so excited, and I give so much value that they want to join my coaching, or they want to learn more in many cases. And so that's, people that add the most value are the most successful people on the planet. And I live by that adage. I've written like 12 books. You can see them that I give away for free. Okay. I've got a boatload of them here. I gave away 20,000 copies of my best-selling book, number 1 bestseller, 20,000 copies I gave away free. I still give it away for free. Pay for the shipping and you get it. But if you want to learn anything, I'm sure you want to do anything, You've got to learn it. You've got to become competent. I don't care if you do it with me, but if you're going to do real estate, for God's sakes, you better learn it. Go to YouTube University, if not me, but you got to learn it. Join Kai's mastermind to exchange notes and whatever, learn it. But you got to learn it. And like I said, you build that competence. That equates to confidence. Okay, you'll have confidence, and then you'll have the ability to influence people. You also need to be passionate about it. If you learn the business and you don't love it, and you can now, by the way, you can learn to love anything. You can associate pleasure with it, even exercise. You can associate pleasure. You can trick your mind into loving something. But if you can't do that and it doesn't work, for God's sakes, go do something else. Why? Because for you to be able to influence people, you've got to be passionate. Okay. If you're passionate about it, you can influence people to pretty much do anything. Okay. To invest with you, to partner with you, to work with you. Now, you don't do it for nefarious reasons. You do it because you love what it is that you do. People see that. I mean, hopefully you get a little flavor of how much I'm passionate about what we're talking about here. Okay. And that's, and that's how it works, but it starts with competence. So you got to learn the subject matter first. Like I said, from me or whoever. But again, real quick, if you are interested in coming to one of my boot camps, I don't know when this will air, but if you just text ROD to 72345, it'll send you a link to whatever's coming up next, whether it's a virtual boot camp like I'm doing this weekend or a live one, for 3 days. The virtual ones are just 2 days, but the live ones are 3 days. And I teach every aspect of this business. I've never had a complaint other than the room's too cold or the food sucked, or in my virtual one, the breaks are too short because I do 15-minute breaks. I promise you they're harder on me because I got to eat and pee and everything else in those 15 minutes. I'm just trying to pack so much stuff in. But again, the bottom line is you got to learn it. You've got to enjoy it and be passionate about it. And then it doesn't take money. You can raise the money. There's so much money looking for deals right now. It's crazy. Okay. Sorry, a long-winded answer, but yeah.
No, I'm a student of the game, right? Like I mentioned earlier. So I just enjoy when you get passionate about something, because when people hear the passion, it's like they know it's not fluff. It's like this is something that you live. And I'm so glad to hear, your reasoning behind, just encouraging people to get into sales, because I mean, sales changed my life. I was in corporate America my first 2 years out of college. And then as soon as I moved out of that environment and I got into sales, I'm just like blown away as far as the progress that I've made. So I encourage it to everyone.
Everyone should learn sales, period. My boy is selling roofing. He's finally now interested in real estate. It's like, hey, dude, you think maybe you could learn about real estate? I'm your dad, but he's selling roofing for my brother, and he's going door to door. Best sales in the world, because you deal with rejection and you learn how to do it, and you can sell anything if you do that. And no, I mean, some of the most successful successful financially people on the planet are the ones that can sell the most. And even the entrepreneurs that go out there and start a business have to sell themselves for that. Anyway, I'm saying the same thing you just said.
Yeah, no, you're right about that though. So once you look into the education piece and you focus on being confident and competent, and let's just throw out real estate, right? What do you say are the first, how can someone with limited resources, but have spent all the time with the education diving in on YouTube University, what's the next steps for them?
Well, they should, there's, and we go through this in great detail, but let me just give you kind of a high level. You got to decide where you're going to buy. You got to decide what size property you're going to go after. You got to start building relationships with people that have money and say, hey, I'm investing in real estate, and we give them a sample deal package. So you can say, hey, this is the kind of deal that we're looking at. If we find one like this, are you interested? So make it real easy if you want to go try to raise money, but or you can create your own like that as well. And then you go out and look for deals. You hunt deals. You find a deal and you've built relationships with people. Anybody who holds still long enough needs to know what it is you're doing. Okay. And you're building relationships and talking it up. When you find a deal, then you say, hey, I got this deal and I'm looking for a partner or a JV partner, or you can syndicate. I teach you how to do that as well if you want to do that. A little more money, but that takes some upfront money. But here's the other thing. In this multifamily game that I'm in, you can raise what's called the at-risk capital. It's done all the time. I've done it on my deals where I have someone else put up the earnest money to put the deal under contract. Someone else puts up the due diligence costs to underwrite and evaluate that deal. Someone else puts up the money for the financing, and it's called the at-risk capital. They get a piece of the deal for doing that. It's very common in this business. So again, yes, this business takes money, but it doesn't have to be your money. If you learn it, and you enjoy it and you're competent and passionate about it, the money will find you, because there's so much money looking for a home right now.
Absolutely. And I would like to get your 2 cents, Rod. Of course, you're focused heavily on multifamily, but
Mhm.
what have been your views recently with now and as far as I'm concerned, it's starting to trend a lot more than I've heard in the past, but
Mhm.
wholesaling, right? How
Mhm.
how do you view wholesaling as
Let's talk about
a tool?
wholesaling.
Yeah.
I put a message out on my warrior group, my Facebook group, and I said, hey, who's wholesaled a deal made over 100 grand? I had a dozen people, my students, make over 100 grand wholesaling a deal. I had 2 that made over 2 million. Wholesaling a deal, 2 million, one deal, 100,000, 125,000, 150,000, one deal. So I love wholesaling. It's a fantastic way to make money. And my students, I did a course on wholesaling multifamily, because it's different than single family. Single family, I mean, you can make 5, 10, 20, even more sometimes on a single family, but don't think you just have to wholesale single family. You can wholesale multifamily. No, wholesaling is fantastic. The only thing about wholesaling, though, Kai, is it's a means to an end. Don't, you're only as good as your last deal. So it's kind of a job in a way. I mean, it's not a job, but it is. I mean, every January 1st, you got to go wholesale some more deals. You start buying some cash flowing real estate with that money you made wholesaling, and at some point you don't have to work anymore.
Right.
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 Okay.
I
And that's
agree.
why so
I
many
agree.
people will start single family flipping, wholesaling, and then they become my students to buy assets that cash flow. So at some point, again, they're not working anymore.
I agree, because that's actually how I got started. And I talk a lot about wholesaling, but the main
Mhm.
point that I like to teach is that it should be used more so just as another exit strategy, as opposed to the main the main bread and butter. It's just like you either flip or you buy and hold or you
Right.
wholesale the opportunities that don't make sense for what your portfolio
Yeah,
calls
if
for.
you're marketing for sellers in a particular submarket, and you're marketing just to buy and hold multifamily, you should have some buyers lined out in case there's a deal you can't do or don't want to do that you can wholesale to, because you can make a lot of money if it's a deal that doesn't interest you. So wholesaling goes in conjunction with direct to seller marketing for multifamily, even if you're direct to seller marketing for stuff you want to buy and hold, is my point.
Got it. Because
Yeah.
it sounds like it makes for just a good backup plan in general.
Absolutely. Great backup plan. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks for that, Rod. And
Mhm.
we're getting ready to wrap things up. And before I switch gears to our last segment, I would love to kind of hear your 2 cents as far as the process that you went through. First getting into real estate. What did you love most about that process, and what did you dislike about that process?
Well, when I found out my mom made 30 grand, I pretty much overlooked everything I disliked, because I was a capitalist. I wanted to have a lot of money. I wanted girls, God, I'm a guy. And so, I'm a fire, ready, aim sort of guy. Okay. I don't sit and aim and analyze and think about, and I just go take action. I don't know if I mentioned to you or on a previous podcast, sometimes they run together. I've built 27 businesses, okay, in my career. And several have been worth tens of millions. Did I say this already? Forgive me if I
Mm-mm.
did. Okay.
No, it's first I'm hearing.
Okay. Well, I don't call them failures when they fail, by the way. I call them seminars. Okay. And because they only a failure if you don't get back up or you don't get the lesson. So I built 27 businesses. I was blown away when I did a count and I realized that's how many it was. But we fail our way to success. Several of those have been worth tens of millions. Most have been spectacular flaming seminars. Okay. But we fail our way to success. And so don't fear failure. If you feel failure, fear regret a hell of a lot more than failure. Okay. And I told you that example about, Bronnie Ware, that hospice nurse. And so, in fact, I got to, at one of my masterminds that I went to, I got to meet Sarah Blakely. She's the billionaire owner of Spanx, the women's undergarments. And she started with $5,000 and she's a freaking gazillionaire now. I think she just sold it for billions, but she's a cool human being, beautiful human being. But I met her and she told me that her dad used to ask her and her brother once a week, what have you failed at this week? Is that an awesome question to ask your kids, to not fear failure? I freaking love that. Anyway, I wish I'd have known that when my kids were still impressionable. Now they're, 30 and 26. So they don't listen to me as much anymore. But anyway.
I think I'm going to start asking myself that question
Isn't
more
that a great
often.
question? I love
That's
it.
an amazing question, and I love questions. That's why I love podcasting.
That's right.
Awesome. So, Rob, we go to switch gears just a little bit. And this next segment, before we wrap things up, is called rapid fire. So I just
Mhm.
have 5 random questions brought to you by Poddex, and these are
Oh,
questions that have nothing to do with what we just talked
okay.
about.
Interesting. Interesting.
Is
I never even
just
heard of pod decks. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a nice little icebreaker, just to kind
Love
of
it.
drop our shoulders a little bit. So the first one
Love it.
is, what is something you get wrong almost every time you do it?
My kids have this saying, are you tired of being wrong? Because I'll form an opinion about something and I'm dead freaking wrong. I'm wrong all the time. In fact, I did a YouTube video, my highest watched YouTube video, the coming real estate crash of 2021. Okay. Now we all know we didn't have a crash in 2021. I got so much hate and bullshit over that. I'm wrong all the time, man. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm wrong all the time.
Got it. That was a good answer. What is the cheesiest movie moment or line you can think of off the top of your head?
Cheesiest movie moment. Oh God, I watch movies every single night. Um, God, I'm struggling with that one, buddy, because I remember the really powerful moments. You can't handle the truth, or I'll be
Yeah,
back.
so let's
Or
do that one then.
all right,
I
fine.
like that.
We'll
Let's do
stick
the
with that
most
one.
powerful and what it
All
did
right,
for you.
yeah, that's a good one. You can't handle the truth. I love that one. I forgot what movie it's in, but it's a movie about something legal, if I recall. Yeah.
Mhm. All right, so this next one is pretty interesting. If you had to choose between eating only hot foods in the hottest weather, or only eating cold foods in the coldest weather, which would you choose?
I like hot weather. I can't stand cold weather. That's why I moved to Florida, man. I could be a poster child for the Florida Chamber of Commerce. I love it here so much. I'm in shorts and
Same,
flip flops right now, brother. I need hot weather.
same here. That's exactly why I moved out of Philadelphia. It just
That's
got
right.
too
There
cold
you
for
go.
me.
There you go. If I
All right,
never scrape snow off another windshield, I will sleep perfectly at night.
I'm sure you get a lot of snow back in
Denver,
Denver.
Denver had plenty of snow. Yeah, that's why I moved. I mean, Denver's beautiful, but no, nope,
Got it.
nope, nope. Yep.
What is the weirdest tradition your family has?
Oh God. Oh, I'll tell you a funny one. So, so my brothers, I have 4 brothers, and when we did get together for Christmas, now we're too spread out. Um, I I got them each the goofiest picture I could find when they were growing up and made it into a poster. And that was really funny. It was not really a tradition though. It was just a funny moment. I also I gave my brother this I gave my brother this tie that my dad had given me because it was so comical. It was such an ugly tie, so I gave it to my brother, and then it went back to one of my other brothers, and it got passed around between the brothers. And at one point, it had these fake breasts hanging off of it that one of the brothers had sewn on, and the end result was it actually ended up on a mannequin in sexy lingerie that got passed. So it went back and forth like 8 or 10 times, this tie that it, had stuff written on it, and just became this joke of a Christmas gift. Anyway, that's what I got.
No, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of something similar to what my family tradition is. Like, I would say that it started with my sister, and she's just the queen of giving gag gifts, where she like puts like a battery in like this huge box in other boxes, have you unwrapping gifts for hours. So that's pretty cool. And then the last one I have for you, Rod, this is a good one. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people who may either agree or disagree, but what is something that you believe, or what's something that people think makes them look cool, but you actually think makes them look ridiculous?
And I'm guilty of it. Okay. A hot car racing up and down a street just to get attention. Okay. I used to do that shit. I'm embarrassed to do, I did it in my Lambo a couple of times, but when I was in high school, I had this 70 Roadrunner that I could literally burn the tires for about 30 yards. And I would just be a freaking idiot trying to get attention in front of the school, racing up and down that, in front. Yeah. Embarrassing to admit.
Nah, I got it. I'm guilty of that too. If that's that's what we go with, I'm
Playing the
guilty.
loud music, where they can hear it a mile away,
Mhm.
that shit, just
Yeah.
just trying to get attention.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Rod, I gotta say, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and
Thank you.
just having you drop the gems that you have for our millionaires. And before I wrap things up, I do want to close out with a couple last questions. And
Mhm.
this one is, Another fun question to ask, and if you could, I like to do this red pill, blue pill scenario, but I want to put the ball in your court. So if you could give our millionaires some type of red pill, blue pill scenario, I'm going to drop it in the mastermind and on our Twitter page and have them vote and see which one that they will pick over the other. But what would that red pill, blue pill scenario be for you?
Oh God. I'm not going to go political, although that's where my head went, especially with red and blue. But I think if you allow yourself to push through fear and push through limiting beliefs and get uncomfortable, recognize that the magnificent life of your dreams is just on the other side of that. One step over into discomfort. Tony Robbins has a quote, which is, the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of discomfort you can live with. Get uncomfortable, okay? You fucking deserve it. Don't live a mediocre existence. Push yourself, get uncomfortable, go make it happen. And then you've taken the pill you need to take, because life will never be the same again if you do.
I love that. So really, millionaires can choose whatever pill they want to take. The whole point is just be uncomfortable. Just get comfortable.
The point is, take the freaking pill. Go make it happen. That's the point.
Make the decision.
That's it.
Don't be paralyzed by indecision. I love that one. I love that one. All right. What will be some, you're walking down the street and you see a reflection of your 18-year-old self. What would be some advice that you would give to 18-year-old Rod?
Yeah, I asked that question too. And it's always go bigger, faster for the, people that have thousands of units on my show. I would tell myself you are enough. I would tell myself you are enough, because my thing that I used to tell, the reason I was hugely successful initially was I needed to prove that I was good enough, and that because I got beat up in school and didn't speak English when I immigrated, and same shit a lot of kids go through. But I created this question, which was, how can I show them I'm good enough? And I would tell myself, you are enough. That would be number one. And then I would fuck around with single family houses. I would have just done multi-family. If I had, I'd be on the back of my yacht right now. So, that one. Sorry about the profanity. Hopefully.
No, you're all good. You're all good. That's great advice, though. That's great advice. Well, Rod, I know you have in Denver on the end of July coming up. You have the 3-day boot camp live. Yep. I highly anticipate that I will be there, so I'm even encouraging.
Oh, buddy, that'd be awesome. You'd love it. Listen, if you ping me, I'll hook you up for that. You don't have to, I'll get you lined out. But again, if you're listening and you can make it to Denver, I promise you'll be glad you came. I promise you. Like I said, only complaints, the room too cold sometimes or whatever. Thousands and thousands of people have attended. I had 800 people in Orlando a couple months ago, and it's a lot of fun. I spend a lot of time on mindset and psychology as well, because again, I want you to freaking take action with what you learn. But if you text Rod to 72345, we'll get you the link to that. And then again, if you want to learn more about me, go to realestatewithrod.com, and tons of free stuff there, tons of free books and stuff you can get. So thanks for having me on, Kai. It's been a lot of fun, brother.
Likewise, it's been a lot of fun, and my palms are both itching and sweating, Rob. Just being Rod, just being able to have you on the show and connecting with you. Like I said, I'm 1000% committed to being able. I'm going to know that I'm going to be there in July, so I will definitely see you there. And as far as anything else that you're excited about, any news, any other projects you have coming up, now's the space I want to give you to, plug those things in as well.
No, buddy, that's it. If you're interested in multifamily, for God's sakes, come spend some time with me. It's, the only real cost is your time. Okay. And that's the bottom line. And I promise you'll be glad you did. And no, that's pretty much it, man. I love what it is I do. If you look behind me, you can see some of the hundreds of thank you cards I've gotten from students. You can't even see the whole wall behind me is covered here. And, I freaking love what I do, which is why my wife puts up with me working Sundays and whatever, I do, because, when you love what you do, you never work another day in your life, right? Work is play.
1000% accurate. Well, again, Rod, thanks. It's been a pleasure having you. I'm super excited to, just kind of see where this episode takes not only myself, but our millionaires as well. And as always, I got to give thanks to the millionaires who, tune in, week out, every Monday, every Friday. Thanks in advance for becoming the change agents that you're bound to become as you apply the principles you heard here today. And as Rod said, if this episode spoke to you and you're super excited about everything you heard and you're even more excited about multifamily real estate, make sure you guys go meet me down there in Denver the end of July. Go ahead and text that number 72345, and text Rod at that number so you can get the details and get the information, because I would love to see you guys over there. But make sure you get over there and learn more about multifamily real estate.
Let me mention one last thing. If the price is more than 197, use the code RODFRIEND and it'll get it back down, because the price does go up. But you'll get it then. And if not, just DM me and I'll hook you up. Don't worry about it. Okay.
There you have it. All right. Text Rod or use the code RODFRIEND, right?
Yeah. After you get to the website. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for that, Rod. And for everyone else that's tuning in, I'm your guy, Kai Speaks. You just heard it from Rod Khleif on bigger losses bigger wins require big losses. So you just remember to keep focused, build momentum, and drive results so you can live abundantly. Peace.